History class taught us the big events: wars, revolutions, and grand discoveries. But beneath the surface are stories so bizarre, so shocking, they feel like they belong in a movie rather than a textbook. Today, we're uncovering 10 historical events that are stranger than fiction, and you probably never learned about them in school. Event 1. The Dancing Plague of 1518. In the summer of 1518, the town of Strasbourg was gripped by a bizarre phenomenon. People began dancing uncontrollably in the streets. What started as a few individuals quickly spread to dozens, some of whom danced for days without rest. Many collapsed from exhaustion, and some even died. Was it mass hysteria, a reaction to contaminated food, or something more mysterious? Event 2. The Exploding Whale of Oregon in 1970. Disposing of a 45-foot-long whale carcass is no small task, but in 1970, Oregon officials decided to solve the problem with dynamite. Their plan backfired spectacularly. When the explosion went off, massive chunks of blubber rained down on horrified onlookers and damaged nearby cars. Event 3. The Great Emu War of 1932. In 1932, Australia faced an unusual enemy: emus. These flightless birds were destroying crops, so the government sent armed soldiers to deal with the problem. But the emus proved to be surprisingly resourceful. Despite using machine guns, the military was outmaneuvered by the birds. In the end, the emus won, and the war became an embarrassing chapter in Australian history. Event 4. The Stolen Austrian Wedding Cake in 1820. Imagine a lavish royal wedding in Austria, complete with a towering multi-tiered cake designed to impress guests. Now imagine that cake being stolen during the ceremony. This bizarre heist left the royal family humiliated and the case unsolved. To this day, the identity of the cake thief remains a mystery. Event 5. The Year Without a Summer in 1816. In 1816, a volcanic eruption in Indonesia triggered a global climate catastrophe. Known as the Year Without a Summer, temperatures dropped dramatically, crops failed, and snow fell in June across parts of the northern hemisphere. This strange event even inspired Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein. Event 6. The Boston Molasses Disaster of 1919. In 1919, a storage tank in Boston burst, releasing a wave of molasses that tore through the streets at 35 miles per hour. Buildings were destroyed, 21 people lost their lives, and hundreds were injured. The event, while tragic, has become one of history's most unusual industrial disasters. Event 7. Cleopatra's Needle in New York City in 1881. In 1881, a 3,000-year-old Egyptian obelisk, known as Cleopatra's Needle, was transported to New York City. The engineering challenge of moving such a massive monument across the Atlantic was so daunting that many doubted it could be done. But after a long journey, the obelisk now stands in Central Park. Event 8. The Disappearance of the Eilean Mor Lighthouse Keepers in 1900. In 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers on the remote island of Eilean Mor in Scotland disappeared without a trace. The logbooks describe strange storms and eerie occurrences leading up to their disappearance. Despite extensive searches, their fate remains one of history's most haunting unsolved mysteries. Event 9. The Exploding Siberian Tunguska Event of 1908. In 1908, a massive explosion leveled over 800 square miles of Siberian forest. Scientists believe a meteor caused the blast, yet no impact crater was ever found, leaving room for endless speculation about its true cause. To this day, the Tunguska event remains an enigma. Event 10. The Night of the Radium Girls in the 1920s. In the 1920s, factory workers known as the Radium Girls were instructed to paint watch dials with radium-based paint, often licking their brushes to create fine points. They were unaware of the paint's dangers until they began suffering from severe radiation poisoning. Their fight for justice reshaped workplace safety standards forever. History is filled with stories that shock, amaze, and make us question what we thought we knew. Which of these events surprised you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through the unexpected, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more hidden stories from the past.